Hi, and thank you for watching Targeted West. Our website is targetedwest.com. I'm DJ Chris. I'm your moderator and host of the call. You can find us on your favorite platforms. Please like, subscribe, and comment. This is show number 201. It is the first day of March 2026. It's 69 degrees in Lodi. And we have a guest tonight. The opinions of the guests and our participants are that of their own and not that of DJ Chris and Targeted West. So everything's been going fine. We're a V2K call. We do a book club at 6:45. We'll be playing a video about 1984. So if you're on Spotify, you'll hear the audio version of it. It's an animated video. So we'll be doing that, of course, but without further ado, I'd like to introduce Joy. Joy is a targeted individual, and she would like to tell her story. Come on in, Joy.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Joy Mack. Some of you might know me and or heard me speak at other events or conference calls, and I've been around a long time, unfortunately, but I started reflecting on 2026, and I sort of thought of how things are, things that we've done in the past and how we really needed, how I felt, how we could try and focus on making 2026 a little bit better. And I seem to think that we needed to, or I would like to encourage others to not be afraid of making legal choices without waiting on counsel, without waiting on an attorney. But I'll just basically just say a little bit about the first part of, I guess, how I got in this program, or how I think I got in the program. And when I started thinking over it, I really got upset a couple of times. So I'm not able to really tell the story the way I want to, but I think this will at least help me get through how things started. And then if in the future I'm back, I can go into other things. So basically, I grew up in Tennessee, and I was really active in sports and other activities. And through the years, I would have a type of memory, like in my mind's eye. You've heard people possibly say that. I remember possibly something happened, but I wasn't sure because I was a little kid. And I never knew to even ask anybody about it because it would, there was no real trigger. It would just come to me. And so anyway, of course, I went on through my life, and I worked at the Department of Corrections. I was in real estate. Of course, I was raising my family during this time, and also in insurance. So then after my divorce, I really didn't realize how bad my neighborhood was. I would invite people to come visit me, right? And so nobody would want to come visit me. Or they'd go, encourage me to go meet them someplace. And I started asking, well, why can't you, come to my house? And then the statement was, hey, if anything bad happened, it would happen in your neighborhood. Like if, somebody got killed or there was stuff on the news. And I had gotten so used to it. To me, it was like, it was like one of those things. So then I started knocking on doors, and I asked the neighbors to join with me, and we created United Neighbors. And it was really a great neighborhood group. We must have had minimum of 30 people to 100 people that would show up every month to the neighborhood meeting, because we all knew that we needed each other. It wasn't about race. color. I don't know if you could tell I'm a black girl, but we were a multi-ethnic, extremely diverse community. So all we knew was that we were entitled to a better quality of life, and we all wanted the same thing. So there were a lot of people coming to those meetings, giving their input. So there must have been some things that happened initially that made the cops mad at me, but I couldn't help it. I was just a spokesperson for the views of the neighbors, and the city was very amiable to assisting us, but they evidently saw me as a threat to the status quo. And especially when there were some problems at a local bar. But I'm gonna tell you something. If I start talking about that, I mean, it would just be too long. It put me in a really bad position with the cops. I'll just use the word corruption, so I just shut up on that one. It's just something I would need to talk about at another time. But contrary to the current views, United Neighbors pushed for police visibility. We wanted the cops in our neighborhood. We didn't want to wait for them to, for bad things to happen, to see them. So I don't know, back during that time, I'm not sure if it was in your areas, but we had cops coming in on bicycles, and so it really created a great relationship between the neighbors and the police department. But I met a lot of people, and but I didn't know that some of the people that I met were orchestrated events. And there was one with the name of Phyllis. Now that's another one that I would have to go into at another discussion. But through the years of whatever community type activities I was engaged in, I was foolish enough to think that I'll run for political office against an incumbent. She was not happy with me doing that, and she won, of course, but she was still angry, and so it was a little shocking to me that years and years later she was running for. She was either running for House of Representative or Senator, I don't know what. But someone told me she wanted to speak to me, and I went to see her, and it was shocking because she was still angry at me. And I'm saying all that to say that she submitted my name for this program. Now, I believe I was already in a program, but there's no doubt with the influence that she had and I guess her anger, which made no sense to me, she just carried a grudge, and she was in even much better to, make things difficult for me. So anyway, there was another political opponent I had, and the bad things had started happening to me, but I didn't really get exactly what was going on. So there was another political opponent that I had, and I just saw him at some location, and we were talking, and I think he asked me to vote for him or something, and I didn't come flat out and say that I would vote for him. I just basically said, I don't know, I'll think about it or something. And then he said that I had his opponent's sign in my yard, and I just said, well, I don't owe you an explanation for whose sign I have in my yard. And he just got all in my face and threatened that he would run me from my house. I'll run you from your home, is what he said. And I was shocked that he would even say that. And I didn't even respond. I just backed away from him and got in my car as quickly as I could. Now, there are people that don't like our current president, and I'm not making this political, but I'm only saying it because sometimes people think that because numbers are numbers, or the papers are there, that there are no, it's hard to do, what do you call it, for fraud to take place. But I remember even back during those times that I was trying to run for office, some of the poll workers that I had assisting me was pointing out things and they were complaining. So I know that fraud does take place, even when you do your best to try and watch what is going on. But anyway, I thought that I was moving on to other things. Once I wanted to have other people in leadership role in the neighborhood group, and I was busy doing other things. I was actively bicycling every weekend. I think if we average about 40 miles on Sundays, 20 miles out to an area called Western Bonaventure and back. So I was really keeping myself in good health. And it so happened, this guy that I was dating during that time, I sort of realized that somehow I would like lose sense of time, or I would end up falling asleep, and I was never sleepy. I mean, you have your habits, and you know when you prepare to go to sleep, but yet there were times in which I would wake up and realize that I was asleep, and it just didn't make any sense to me. Well, to get past that, there was a trip that I needed to make, and, for whatever reason, I didn't want him to go with me, but yet he showed up, and he would not leave my house. He insisted on going, and again, I said no, but I went in my house, closed the door, but when I woke up that morning, he was still out there waiting and insisting that he go. But somehow he ended up going on the trip with me, and when I made it to my destination, when we made it to the destination, and I opened up the rental unit, the rental unit was filled with gas fumes. So, I mean, that really scared me and frightened me. And so I called the gas company. And then oddly, he said he needed to use the bathroom, but guess where he was going to go use the bathroom? Right inside the room with the rental unit that was filled with gas fumes. So when the gas company came, they of course said, well, there must have been a leak, and it wasn't like obvious at that time. And I sort of figured he must have went in there and turned it off. I mean, it just made no sense that he would even have gone in there. So anyway, after that happened, there were other incidents where I was in another rental unit in another city, and now understand that was in Mississippi. So then I was in another rental unit where people were coming in, and I called the police, but the police wouldn't give me the police report. And then one night I came in and went to sleep, and when I woke up, it was filled with gas fumes. And so that scared me so bad that I just took my stuff and just threw it in the car. I mean, it did occur to me to call the police right then, but I was, at that point, I was really frustrated that I had called them and they were not being responsive. I guess that's the term to use. So later, I was trying to do a police report, and nobody would ever call me back. And then finally, I actually drove all the way there to see to physically go there. I mean, I must have done that 2 or 3 times, but finally I managed to get an officer in charge, and his statement to me was, Ms. Mack, we can't help you. Your problem is in Florida. So I don't know if I even mentioned that I lived in Florida, but basically he was telling me that whoever it was that was bothering me, I felt they knew about it, but they couldn't do anything to help me. I mean, that was my take from that. And so, so I never got a police report for someone that was trying to kill me. And
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
I just said gotcha. Continue.
Okay. So, all right. So anyway, along with that, now that was in 2010. I mean, these things are happening in sequence after each other. So now, so that would have been September when the second thing happened with the gas. I must have been near around my sister, and she could evidently hear my breathing, but I couldn't hear. And so she had like an extra, what do you call, rescue inhaler. And so she gave me hers because I knew I had been inhaling the gas evidently while I was sleeping, but I didn't know the severity of what had happened. I just knew I wanted to get out of there, and I did. So anyway, that was the sign that I had COPD. But when I would go to the doctors, they would say, oh, that I had asthma. And I didn't figure it out until years and years and years later, although I would keep changing physicians, that I had COPD. When I went all the way back to the original visit, I saw, when you look at the numbers, I mean, I had to figure it out. It wasn't easy. I could tell that my lungs was in bad shape, and I already had COPD, and they just were not going to admit it no matter what. Someone was telling them not to. So anyway, so one night in this same year, I was leaving the house. It must have been like after 10. I was taking my dog out, and I must have went like across the street and was walking, but then we stopped, and I heard this vehicle coming, and I sort of glanced back and could tell it was like a caravan, a Chrysler had back then. It was that type of a vehicle, and but I'm looking down at the dog, and I'm noticing that the light from the vehicle getting closer. And then I'm noticing that the tire for the vehicle passing over the yellow line. And so I raised my head up to look, and the windows, well, what windows, what do you call it? The windshield was totally black. Now, I knew I sensed two people was in that caravan, but I couldn't see anybody. And I just immediately hauled off to run away from the vehicle. Here it is heading toward me. And the problem was, and then I forgot, I had the leash wrapped around my wrist and could only run so far. And my dog, by the way, a dog was like 130 pounds. He was a thoroughbred German Shepherd, probably about 3 feet high, and he was huge. So that kind of like jerked me backwards, and now I'm trying to run back in the other way to get away from the vehicle, and it kind of curved to catch, like cut me off. But the problem was that the dog was there at that point, and the dog didn't know what was going on, and whoever it was trying to run over me, which I think I know, would have had to run over the dog first in order to run over me. And so at that point, they backed away and went on back in the direction they were coming from. Well, we'll say back in the direction they started. So I had been, because I worked at Department of Corrections, I learned to document. And I was doing what I could do to, take pictures, get police reports, all this other stuff. So around 2013, I went to the state attorney's office, the Broward County State Attorney's Office, with all my evidence, my logs, my incident report, my pictures, everything. And so the assistant state attorney used this phrase, okay? He said, "Ma'am, are you feeling all right? Have you taken your medicine today?" And so it pissed me off. And I just said, well, okay. I said, well, if I need to take my medicine, who is this? And I pulled out a picture. And when he saw the picture, he nearly passed out. He used girl, and then he threatened to arrest me for taking the picture. Now, I knew or had reason to believe this person was tied to the stuff that was happening to me, but I didn't, know his position or anything like that. And so then my response to the state attorney was, well, I guess that means that I don't need to take any medicine. So basically what he said at that point was that, well, look, we can't help you. The people that are bothering you take an oath not to tell. And there's really nothing we can do. Even if I put them on a stand, they're going to deny it. So at that point, I really was at a loss because I had done everything I could do to show what was happening to me, even though people were denying that it was happening. And yet I went to the very source that was in the best position to stop it. And he was telling me that he wasn't going to help me at all. But thereafter, what I noticed was that the Broward State Attorney's Office, the Broward Sheriff's Office, and the fusion centers, and in this case, I'm talking about Florida. But understand, it didn't matter. I mean, all during this time, I would be traveling to see family and so on and so forth. So it really didn't matter what state of the United States I was in. I was going through this. I mean, everybody was participating. So they had evidently put, I guess you use, when they saw the information that I had was so organized, they had instituted a discrediting to neutralize my efforts. And then it got to where if I tried to call the police or something, in the moment the cop said, "Have you taken your medicine today?" I mean, it's not funny, but the moment he said that, I got it. I said, oh, okay, I get this song and dance here. But I realized that I had to be very careful about my efforts to try and get help. So my targeting increased, and the goal was to make sure, whenever possible, that no one give me police reports. And, these people are so nasty. There was harms that came to my family from my efforts. For instance, one time I was visiting my mom, and we must have went out to, my mom was in Tennessee at the time. So we must have went out shopping or something like that. And when I came back in, there was a book on the end table. And that's what I always said when I went to visit her. And the book was Death of a Dissident. Now, I can't tell you all right now. I mean, I think I read the book back during that time because I was just curious who put this book there. But it was obvious to me that someone could come into my mom's house when she was in a gated community. It was similar to what was happening to me in Florida. So I got the message that all of this was tied and related. So this book, Death of a Dissident, I guess, was clearly a message to me. And I kept the book because, and subsequent to that, there were things that started happening with my family. So I think it would have been around 2013. I went back to Memphis to stay with my mom or to take care of her. I don't know if we were going to move somewhere else or what, but I know I was in Memphis to get my mom. And it was early in the morning, and I was having, I guess, arm pains, chest pains, whatever. And so I went to the emergency room, and the nurse came and said that they wanted to keep me, and that they were going to keep me. But when she came back, I mean, they went through the protocol stuff, but when she came back, I'm going to tell you something. This lady looked like she had this glaze in her eyes. I mean, she just wasn't like the same nurse. And then this needle was like a horse needle. It was humongous. And I was like, oh, no. I mean, I'm saying it to myself, get out of there. And so I just told her, I said, no, I think I'm going to leave. And so, they had to release me, and that's exactly, I knew that there was no way I wanted to stay there when I saw that needle she had in her hand. But then, around that time, that night, I got a call that my mom had passed out or had a heart attack, and we all went rushing to the hospital, and my mom died. And there was this man that was supposed to be, I don't know, what do you call it, like some church person? But this man looked more like, I don't know, like some professional CIA person. I mean, he was just too clean. To me, he was. And he didn't look like he was, religious at all. And it seemed that he was more interested in watching me and my expressions or whatever it was that I would have been going through during that time. And then the doctor wouldn't even sign the death certificate. He refused. He said, no, I'm not signing it. So it gave me reason to believe that more had happened with my mom. But when I tried to question people about it or even talk to the police department, I mean, they wouldn't know whether they were going to listen to me, and they didn't listen to me. So I didn't get anywhere with that. Then there were other incidents that happened to me with people in the family. And part of my targeting now, by the way, I have a website called freemeonline.com. It's not the best website. I mean, it certainly needs to be in better shape, but it's my effort to try and show the type of targeting that I experience. And as part of that, Congress has, I guess you could say, had, I don't know, what do you call, committee hearings about facial recognition technology. But those meetings were more typical of a race-based, disparity with artificial intelligence. No, and when Congress asked the FBI about using facial recognition technology, the FBI always said, well, we don't abuse that technology. But what is happening with me, there is a type of an abuse, whether we say it's the FBI or local law enforcement. And that's because what they will do, I think I'm going to use the phrase to control my behavior, chill my speech. They introduce and reintroduce in my everyday civil liberties individuals that are similar to family members and people that I know, or my interaction with people. There are points in which it becomes so ridiculous, but it's the fact that they could pull it off so smoothly that it'll blow your mind. Now, I think now I've come up with how they're doing it. I mean, I know how they're doing it, but now there is what I'm gonna call the accrual of the causes of action, and hopefully I'll remember to bring it up at the end. But I'm saying all that to say that what would happen is I would go to the laundromat. And this was when I was in Florida, and guess what? This lady would always show up, and I could like sense that somebody was looking at me, and I look, and here's this lady is. She sort of reminded me of my mom. I mean, not like perfectly, but you know, when you look at her, I kind of thought, she reminds me of her. But I'm just doing the things that I would do. But this lady would always do it, always come there and would be watching me. Now, if she came there to the laundromat and she washed clothes, then what difference would that make? But no, she would only show up, or to my knowledge, she would certainly show up when I was doing my clothes, and she would stay there until I left, and she would leave. Or she would certainly make herself visible to me and hang around and then leave. And it was just interesting to me that they would pull that off with her. But she wasn't the only one. My sister, my brothers, even my children. This is the nasty, nefarious use of facial recognition technology that they have been using in my targeting. And I'm just happy that I better understand it. And then I think the other thing is what I say, the control my behavior, show my speech. When someone gets harmed or something happens, then it's like within time or distance of that, and then they reorchestrate these things so as to make me think or believe that they, in fact, had something to do with it. Now, I believe that in all the cases they influenced it in some way, but these aren't things that you can really go to a court and say, that they did it, because they are good at deception. I mean, that is why they have been doing this stuff for so long. It's about deception, and they're very successful in doing it the way that they do. So, after my mom died, I rushed. I think I had like 2 incidents where people were chasing me in the cars, and I had this first incident where, here it is. I'm calling the cop because somebody's chasing me, and the cops put me in handcuffs. But you see that that was the whole setup for the discrediting. And when I think back on it now, I kind of laugh, but it was a very painful thing for someone to go through. And when I made it back here, I tried to file my first complaint, and it was dismissed. I did what most people in our community do when you don't have counsel and you're emotional about it, and you won't release from the court, but you really don't. You're not an attorney, and so there's no way around it. I would have to believe that I also filed in form of purpose, because that, to me, that's not a good thing for us to do. But anyway, so that was dismissed, and then of course I appealed it. And while I was going through the appeal, then I had another situation with perpetrators bothering me, and then this person accused me of backing into her car. Now, I made 3 calls to the 911 that this person was harassing me and bothering me. And who did they put in handcuffs? Me. So here it was, it happened to me again, a second time. And when I was talking to the so-called, what do you call them, physician there, they were like getting me because I was taking pictures. I was actually in trouble because I was taking pictures. Because I was taking pictures of cars, they kept saying. And I was saying, well, I was taking pictures because these people were harassing me. So anyway, finally I get that was like the first day. So that night, a person came in, a nurse came into my room, and she didn't even work on the floor, but she had some cranberry juice, and she offered me the cranberry juice. So I accepted it, and then she said, well, let me go get some ice, but it was already cold, but she insisted. So I didn't think anything of it. So she come back with the ice, and she pours the cranberry juice on it, and I drank it, and that's all I remember. But at like 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up with an excruciating headache. Now, I remember it specifically because I was reading a book when the nurse came into the room, and I specifically remember that she didn't even work on the floor. But there was no reason for me to suspect anything from, a situation like that. But anyway, I woke up and I had like every nerve ending in my head was on fire. And I had to go get aspirin for that, and didn't think anything of it. And so the next day, now I'm talking to the I guess psych guy, and he's going back and forth with me that I'm saying these people are harassing me, they don't like me, I was politically active, and to him it doesn't make any sense. And at that point, I was just frustrated. I just said, hey, the person that put me in here is a white male. He wears a uniform. He wrote a false report that everybody will accept because he wears the uniform, and nobody will question its accuracy because he wrote it, and he can go wherever he wants, whenever he wants. But now I'm stating that the report filed by this officer is false, but I do not get to respond to that report, and I filed a complaint that is pending on appeal, and now I'm in here with you, and I can't go anywhere. Now, who are you going to believe, me or him? And, the doctor sort of looked up at the ceiling and thought for a moment, and then he said, okay, you can go. And it was just amazing to me because I didn't expect that I would get, that he would even agree to it. I just felt helpless. And he left, and I'm thinking I'm about to leave. But then the nurse comes in, and she puts this paper under it right in front of me and says, sign it. And I said, well, I read it, and I said, I'm not going to sign that. And her response was, you better get with the program and sign it, or we'll keep you longer. So I was getting furious, but then, and I was pretty knowledgeable about the law, but I also knew that I couldn't fight my battles behind their walls, that the only way I could fight was to get out of there. So I signed it. And then I got on the phone. There was an 800 number, and I'm sure I was talking to them. I'm sure the call, it didn't go anywhere, but I called this 800 number and complained that I was forced to sign a document under duress, or else they were going to keep me longer if I didn't sign it. So after I did that, then I asked for a pen and paper to file a habeas corpus. And I think that's something that a lot of us should be trained in to do, to understand that when we're in situations like that, that we do have recourses, or sometimes we're stuck for maybe, 24 or 72 hours, but, we can get out of there, but we have to know how to do it. So anyway, they didn't like the fact that I asked for the paper and pen to prepare the habeas corpus, and so I had to spend one more night before they released me. What's startling is that I went to the hairdresser thereafter, and the hairdresser graphs when she was like, I don't know, doing whatever she was doing, and she got two mirrors and sort of positioned them, and what she pointed out to me is that there was a darkened hematoma at the base of my brain near 2 inches above the hairline. And then I immediately thought about the nurse that came in with the cranberry juice and waking up at the 4 a.m. with the nerve endings feeling like it was on fire. And, that was the first night that I was there in that unit. So I have this thing where I feel like, what's the message that I get? The message is that when I run my mouth, and this actually came from a Broward County Sheriff deputy. He said, you need to learn what my mama told me, to stop running your mouth and to keep your mouth closed. I just come to see that they are, or during the time that I was interacting with them, they were controlling the court or manipulating the court. The judges, at least the ones that I went in front of, not all of them, but the ones that they were, what do you call it? They were making sure that certain judges was my judge. And they were doing it, the other patterns of conduct, so as to contribute the types of harms to my family members when I run my mouth. I mean, it just, for instance, I won't talk too much about my brother, but I had participated in a public forum when the ACLU had filed an action against the Memphis Police Department. And I think like within 2 months of that, something really horrible happened to my brother. And the sequences of who calls me and tells me these things and how they tell me is always done in an orchestrated fashion, so I get the point. So here's another one where I was going to a physician office in Mississippi, and when I get to now, this is what we have to be careful about, but I can still tell that these are orchestrated events, okay? So I'm going to this physician office in Mississippi. There are these cars that are speeding past me. Clearly, they're trying to get to a destination. And then when I get to that destination, I'm watching I'm seeing the cars, and that tells me, okay, they're here for me, because that's the way it always works out. So sure enough, it's this lady name that was introduced to me was Shelby, and Shelby is the county in Tennessee, where my family is. So then now another time I'm going to a different physician office in Mississippi. And there's this pickup truck that sort of messing around, but somehow something happened, like with my, what do you call those, MapQuest? Something happened with my MapQuest for something that was so simple, but to just drive straight, but it was directing me to go a whole hour out of the way and to be late for my appointment. And sure enough, when I made it to my destination, here's this girl that shows up, and it's a similar type orchestration. She shows up when I show up, and she waits until I get in there, and then the orchestration starts. And her name is Morgan, and it so happened my niece's name is Morgan. And then, like recently, I guess maybe it was a year or 2 years ago. So then I lost my my brother-in-law. But I don't want to share these type things to my family. You can't prove it anyway, but it's the way that they...
Just want to warn you that we're getting ready to do the book club for about 8 minutes, and then you can come back at the end if you want.
Oh, okay. Well, then just let me say that from all of these type things, the thing that I really wanted people to know was that I realized in my efforts to try and deal with the type of targeting I get was that I needed to be more informed about law, and that was what I really wanted to share with our group in 2026. That I believe that I have a way to open the door for our community, especially for those that have been into these programs for a long, long time, and that was because of a common rule lawsuit that I filed, and it will involve saying that there was a grandfather. And that's what all the other stuff that we've seen about, the waivers and the Century 21 Cures Act, all that, but that the common rule put in a grandfather clause that can keep us in forever. And typically, the Supreme Court has already overturned, overturned? Basically went against grandfather clauses. So that's something that I want to share, and I wanted to share that from my so-called experiences.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Well, let's go ahead and go to the book club, and we'll come back to you, of course. The book club meets every Sunday at 6:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we talk about whatever book club or book is in the book club that week, and we do our best to come up with things that we think you will like. We're at 227 members right now and growing. So here's the message about the book club.
It's time for the TI Book Club, where every book opens a door to new worlds and shared journeys. Here, we uncover hidden gems, specially selected for TIs, and always within your reach. Be part of a community that reads together, grows together, and sees the world through the same lens. Don't just listen to stories, live them with us. Join now at bookclubs.com/TIBookClub/join, and let's turn the pages of adventure together.
Yes, you can join today for free, so follow that information. Thank you. We have a little bit of information here to share from a company called Spark Notes on YouTube. Check them out. Please Google Spark Notes and check out their channel. Their book this week is 1984 by George Orwell, and this is a synopsis of the book for you, for your pleasure. If you're on Spotify, you'll get the audio version. Here we go.
"1984 is about totalitarianism. A totalitarian government is one that tries to control every aspect of life. How people spend every minute of their time, even in private, who they can associate with, what they're allowed to say. A totalitarian government even tries to control what people think and what they believe." George Orwell wrote 1984 in the late 1940s. What he knew about totalitarianism was based on the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. Those governments had come into being not that long before, and they weren't very well understood yet. What Orwell was trying to do with 1984 was to give his readers a clear picture of what life would be like if a free country like England were under totalitarian rule. 1984 takes place in London. The London in the book is a depressing place. There's never enough to eat. The food's disgusting. There aren't enough clothes or shoes or anything to go around, and the city is pretty dilapidated, except for these giant pyramid-shaped government buildings that rise above the landscape. There's some sort of war going on, though no one really understands what it's about. Rockets frequently explode in the streets and blow people to bits. The worst part is that the government is always watching everything people do. There are these posters of Big Brother, who's supposedly the leader of the government, that say, "Big Brother is watching you." There are thought police who have hidden cameras and microphones literally everywhere. The government can watch you in your home through your TV screen, and you're not allowed to turn your TV off ever. There are a lot of things you're not allowed to do in this society, and if you do them, the police might take you away and throw you into a forced labor camp. You're not allowed to have close friends. You're not allowed to be in love. You can't date or have sex with someone you like. You're basically supposed to save all your emotional energy for the party being the government. Then there are things you have to do. You have to watch the government programming on TV, most of its news, some of its exercises. You have to attend pep rallies, including this one called the 2 Minutes Hate. So it's hard to even have time to think your own thoughts, because they're constantly filling your head with propaganda. The main character of 1984 is Winston Smith. He's 39, he has a job in the government, and he lives this horrible, dreary existence without any friends or anyone in his life. At the beginning of the book, he starts writing a diary to talk about how much he hates life in his society, even though writing a diary is one of those things you'd be killed for doing if you were caught. The diary is his place for thinking about his society. It's a place where he tries to imagine if life could possibly be different from the way it is. There's no way for him to know if things were ever different before, because the government has changed all the records of the past and rewritten all the history books. At the beginning of the novel, there are two other people who matter to Winston, and he doesn't even know either of them. One of them is Julia. Julia is this attractive young woman who works in the same building as him. She's some kind of mechanic. Winston basically hates her. He hates her because she's pretty and he can't have her, but he also thinks she's the sort of person who would turn him into the thought police. So he's afraid of her, but also sort of fascinated. The other person he's interested in is this portly guy named O'Brien, who's a member of the inner party. That means he's a boss, much higher up than Winston. Winston should be afraid of this guy, but he gets the sense that O'Brien is intelligent, so he has this yearning to be friends with him. He thinks O'Brien would understand how he feels about life. The book takes a turn one day when Julia slips Winston a note that says, "I love you." This note completely rocks Winston's world. Of course he's interested. He can't wait to get in touch with her. But it's very hard for them to say two words to each other in private with all these spies and cameras everywhere. Finally, they do manage to get out to the country, and they start this mad love affair. The love affair makes them both very happy. It's dangerous because they could be killed or sent to labor camps if they get caught, but that makes it more exciting. At last, Winston has someone who understands him and who hates the party as much as he does. But Winston needs to go that extra step. He's rebelling against the party privately by having the secret affair. Now he wants to go to the next level and be an active rebel against the government. He gets his chance one day, when O'Brien invites him to his apartment to look at something work-related. Winston takes a leap of faith and guesses that O'Brien must be part of the rebellion, because no one invites people over to their home. It just isn't done. So he and Julia go to O'Brien's house and confess that they want to be rebels. And O'Brien says, "Yes, I'm a rebel too." And we all read this book that explains why things are the way they are. Winston reads the book, and he's blown away by it. Unfortunately, right after he reads it, the thought police bust in and arrest him and Julia and carry them off to the Ministry of Love to torture them. So we learned that O'Brien wasn't a rebel after all. He just wanted to catch Winston. In the Ministry of Love, they torture Winston in all sorts of horrible ways. They break his bones in his teeth, they use electric shock, they starve him, and on and on. He tells them everything he knows, he confesses to everything they ask him, and he tells them everything he knows about Julia. After torturing him over and over, O'Brien finally tells Winston what it is that the government really wants. What they want is to have total power over the minds of people like Winston. They want people like Winston to say 2 + 2 = 5 and really believe it. not just say it to avoid a beating. For the government, it's purely an exercise in power. They're not trying to control his mind for some other purpose. They just want to exercise total power over people's minds. They finally do break Winston completely in this place called Room 101, where they do whatever it is you're most afraid of. They lock his face into a cage and threaten to let these rats eat their way through his face. He has a phobia of rats, so he loses it and says, "Do it to Julia, not me," which is a complete betrayal of what's most important to him. The government has taken his last shred of integrity. After he does that, they let him and Julia go. The thought police don't care about them anymore. The two of them meet on the outside, but they can't love each other anymore. Winston and Julia are basically broken people after they get out. Winston has changed to the point that he doesn't even want to think about anything that might be rebellious. He just sits in a cafe listening to the news and smiling. The last words of the novel are, "He loved Big Brother." So, one of the points the book makes is that a human being can be broken down completely until he'll believe whatever you tell him, even if it's that 2 + 2 = 5. At the same time, the book has a positive message, which is that it's really hard to get inside someone's head to that extent. The government has to go to incredible lengths to brainwash Winston successfully. For more information about 1984, check out the SparkNote to it on sparknotes.com.
Thank you very much. Now back to the call. We, of course, have a guest, and we probably have questions for her by now. Does anybody have a question for Joy about her interview? Joy, are you there?
Not at the moment.
Go ahead.
Not at the moment. I was listening, and yeah, we're all pretty much being manipulated, even family, friends, and everything. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's in 1984 is very relevant to now.
And it's so sad to even try to explain to your family member that I don't think we should be having this argument because we never would in the past. Like, what's going on here? And I had to get this through to him, and I actually helped him reset his phone. But he's sitting over there, doing whatever he's doing with his thumbs and fingers, and I'm sure he'll have a virus again real soon. But it was so bad that when he would be on his phone, he'd get pop-ups on his screen, and then next thing you know, you can't even get it off unless you clear all this crap. It's just silly what they're doing to everybody, man. I know they're attacking us through our phones, but what a clever plan how to attack us is through our phones, And it's so sick because we need them.
I'm sure the phones are designed to be that way. I'm sure.
Yep. And it's sad. It's sad that humanity's letting humanity go through this because it takes. I don't know. I heard that there's people underground that's running the world, and I wouldn't doubt it. They got some reason boring holes all over underground, But yeah, I enjoy listening to this lady, and I will mute and let her finish what she needs to say. Thanks, Chris.
No worries. Thank you for your commentary. Anybody else have a question for Joy?
Yeah. I was wondering.
Come on in, Ben.
I was wondering if Joy had tried any type of jamming devices, because ultimately what we're dealing with is, electronic frequency, radio frequency that is causing a lot of this stuff to happen, not just to us but to people around us. And so two-part question. Have you tried any type of jamming devices, and do you experience directed dreams that seem artificial?
Are you there, Joy? I think we lost Joy, Ben, but thank you for your questions. We're going to go ahead and end this recording anyway. Thank you for listening or watching on your favorite platform. Please like and subscribe and make a comment. I read all the comments, and sometimes I get back to you. This is DJ Chris, and you can email me to be interviewed at djchris@targetedwest.com. This ends our recording. Thank you very much. We'll be back next week and with more information with a new guest. Thank you.